in keeping with my previous theme of not thinking things through, I decided to not wear my waterproofs this morning. I just couldn't be bothered to faff around. And I just remembered why I started wearing them all the time. It's because it means I don't have to like dry my seat on my bike. So now I'm likely going to get to work with a wet backside and groin. Doggy, doggy. Last night I was watching Hatari Rides, now Hatari KTM, talking about his new bike, his KTM Duke 125, and I was watching it, and I stumbled upon, I say stumbled, I firmed my belief about 125s, and just as a caveat, people are free to spend their money where they like. You can buy what they want, and this is just simply my opinion, but I could never recommend anybody buy a 125 new or for anything more than like $2,000. I just don't see the point in spending all this money on a like a bike range that has very little, you know, in terms of like, well, there's no power, is there? There's no power for one. So there's no point spending $4,000 on a 125 that has 15 horsepower when you could just buy one for $2,000 with 15 horsepower. Every time. You don't need ABS, right, on a 125. I mean, think about all these emission standards and safety things coming in, and even they don't give a damn whether or not you have ABS or not on a 125, let alone things like traction control or rider modes. My god, rider modes. 125's in rain mode 24 hours a day. What do you need rider modes for? Unreal. And like I said, you know, people are free to buy what they want, but you could spend half the money on a brand new bike in the 125 range and put the rest of it in savings towards your lessons and a bigger bike. I mean, even if you were planning to just sit on your 125 CBT license from like, what is it, like 16 to 21, I'd still say don't waste your time with a brand new expensive 125. They're just not worth it. They're just not worth the cost. I mean, there's variation in bike style, you know, scooters, cruisers, naked sports, you know, there's quite a variety to choose from, but there's very little difference other than what they look like between. I mean, they're all going to do about 55 to 60, aren't they, really? Some will do less, some will do more, but you're not going to have huge power differences. I mean, personally, I think it should be 250s on a CBT. 250s with a 25 horsepower limit. It just, I don't know, it just seems like the 125, themselves seem an absolute waste of time and effort. I mean, I know there are people that watch my channel that have 125s, obviously, and I'm not trying to berate your choice. It's just something I wouldn't personally recommend. I couldn't recommend. I don't like buying new anyway. I was watching oh no, there's a new channel. I'll put the link in below. The name's gone, I do apologize, but he had has a 250, I think. It looks like a Suzuki Inazuma, correct me if I'm actually, don't correct me, we went through that, don't correct me ever. His friend's Ducati like was broken, right? I know, saying like for the cost of that bike, it was like, I think it was something around 16 grand ish, if I remember. Like, I would literally buy 3 5 grand bikes that are I mean, you could buy one £5 bike that's probably faster, and then spend another £5 on fancy ride gear, and then £5 on what it'll probably cost to insure it. Like, overpriced bikes in general is why the industry is on its arse. Watching Spaghetti Western's trip to the dealership that used to have Harley Davidson, and what I can't quite figure out, right, is you've got one hand, you've got the image of a Harley rider, sort of like the OG image of, you know, what's it, like a 1%er or whatever it is, like an outlaw rider, a bad boy, Hell's Angel. On bikes, you need to have like a really good job to buy, because they're very expensive. It doesn't make sense in my mind to overcharge for bikes that people can buy secondhand that are just as effective. Even trickle down tech, things like ride modes, cruise control, are all in this like second-hand market now. I mean, 125 engine configuration is literally single, or at least in 2 instances that I'm aware of, it's the Varadero, and the there's like a cruiser, I think, is it a Sinus cruiser, something like that, which is a V-twin. But again, they're only limited to like 15 horsepower, so what difference does it make? Really make? I don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, you can have off-road bikes that are 125s that are probably not going to be good enough on their own to get to the good roads, unless you live right next to them. Yeah, unless you live right next to all the off-road bits. I don't know why you would. I mean, in most instances, like scooters are probably going to be faster, because you don't have to worry about clutches. You just like twist and go. I mean, for instance, my old 125, my Honda CBF 125, that could do 70-75 miles an hour eventually, fully pinned. Whereas when I bought my Keyway Superlight, that would only do 55 pinned, and you'd have to do it in, I can't remember how many gears there were, but you couldn't do it in top gear because it would lose speed. So you have to like literally redline it just to get it to do 55. But in essence, that's all you need, really. It's not at all, but apparently that's all you need. I mean, I'm obviously going to be in the minority on this one. I mean, my kind of sort of dislike / disregard for the 125 category in general, just simply because the bikes, they're just not enough. They're not enough. Spending. I don't know. I couldn't fathom spending £4,000 on a bike that will struggle to keep up with like probably this kind of traffic. I mean, that being said, even large CC bikes are starting to slowly be phased out, aren't they? Like the traditional litre bike, you've got a lot more new companies. I'll say new companies and not Chinese companies, because when you say a lot more like Chinese bikes, people start going, oh, not China. But new companies have slowly been building themselves like a decent enough reputation, are all releasing quality products within their budget that are all around this like mid-range spot, and they're even starting to nudge up, because isn't it like the 900, is it the Vosges 900, the one that literally looks like they've been stealing notes from BMW? I think you literally need to have like a second look to realize that it's not it's not a GS. Although ironically, I've been looking more into the Himalayan, the Royal Enfield Himalayan for the 411, because you can pick them up for about £2,500 now.
Fuck off. Seriously? £2,500?
And I was watching, just been watching a lot of content. Like, people have been doing all sorts of stuff, like off-road events and them, and I just think it fits the bill in so many ways. But you can even still buy a new one. I don't know why you'd buy a new bike in general, but a new one for the same price as you could probably pick up a 450. And I did look at the 450, but no, you can only buy them new. And as discussed, I ain't doing it. I ain't playing those games. Dominance. Parking pat away yo. Parking pat away yo. Let's black and white cat away yo. Forget to feed the meter. Pat away yo's eager to put the ticket on your car and get it towed away yo.